Did you get him?
Huh?
Did we didn't get you, did we?
Yeah, we got him.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Our speaker is Smitty, and I think Smitty, you've been around since 2001 or 2 or something like that.
Or earlier.
Long time, I know that. Smitty he's also a master gardener, and I had all kinds of interesting stuff about him in the email yesterday. And what I thought was really cool is that grant you got to do that garden at the Genealogical Society, which is right across Blanco from me. I can actually go walk
I have
there.
pictures of it.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. So Smitty's going to talk to us today, and Smitty, we appreciate your effort to come out and to show us your wares. So no further ado, here's Smitty.
All you pond people, I hope you realize this is going to be plants that go around the pond. I will have about a dozen pictures of ponds at the end, but I'm not into pond plants, unfortunately, much. I have no fish. I have too many big birds flying around that get those. So this is my front yard after a rainy season, just to show you that you can get a lot of color around the pond. Cenizo, I think most of you recognize with the green leaves. I'll have a lot of these later where you can see them up closer. Thryallis or golden showers. There's a buckeye, Mexican buckeye back here. Coral bean probably. The heavenly blue. Morning glory. Be careful, they get very invasive. You plant one and the seeds drop and they go up in every tree you have and they just go forever. But I'll talk about vines and how invasive they can be. So, okay, thank you. I have assistants helping me. I'm out at Crown Ridge, which I came here from Southern California, and the realtor would not show me anything outside 1604. And that was in 95, before it even became part of the city. And I said, I live in Southern California. It takes me an hour to go either to San Diego or to go to Los Angeles. I was in Laguna, right in the middle of the two. I said, look, 30 minutes downtown is nothing. So I'm glad I found it. It's hills. I was in the hills in Southern California. I'm in the hills up here in Crown Ridge. Shortly after we moved here, Saws said we need to buy up some of this property around here because it's just, everybody's just building everywhere. They're going to put 500 homes where this Crown Ridge Canyon natural area is. So Saws and your tax funds bought up, I don't know how many acres, but a lot of acreage. And Janice Merritt did a lot of prairie restoration and put in a lot of bluebonnets. This is spectacular. But she retired in 2015, and I didn't realize, but every year she would go out and put out new seeds. I said, I thought bluebonnets just reseeded themselves. Well, they do, but not like this. So, next one. Again, this is the entrance. It's just spectacular. And occasionally you'll see, oh, maybe it was the last one, but occasionally you'll see Indian paintbrush or there's a wine cup too. Okay, next one, thank you. So fall planting for bluebonnets in the spring. Plant seeds now. Well, I gave this presentation earlier in the fall. You don't plant them now, it's too late. However, I had a school teacher once who waited and planted them after winter vacation in January. I said, oh, you're not going to get anything. But amazingly, in May, when she had an open house for the school, elementary school, a whole field of bluebonnets. So you can get them. And by the way, now is a good time maybe to put 4-inch seedlings from one of your nurseries, Milberger's, Rainbow Gardens, Nectar Bar, Pollinatives. Bluebonnets. I was not that impressed with Texas bluebonnets. Coming from California, we had lupins. Lupins were this big. What? Sorry, all you native Texans, but anyway, they will come back year after year. And just be careful if you're going out and putting in some of the new ones that Jerry Parsons came up with, these new maroon ones. And when you put them in side by side, maroon and blue, they come up an ugly color the next year. So be careful about that. By the way, the red dot does show that they've been pollinated, so the bees know to avoid that flower, go to the one above it, the next one. Okay, thank you. Well, I came here in 95, and I bought the property.
Smitty, can you back up to the planting in the fall? What month in the fall?
Oh, September, October, up to through November. Okay. And this one lady again planted them in January, and they came up. They just come up much later than usual.
Yeah.
Don't they come up every
Oh, they should come up every year thereafter. They should recede, just not in the huge numbers that you saw there. Yeah, I came here in 1995, and I bought the property in December, and beautiful, lush green lawns, St. Augustine lawns everywhere in the neighborhood. And I thought, this is spectacular. And then I got here in April of 95, April 5th, and it was all brown. And they had just had a hard freeze, April 5th, 1995, a hard freeze. And everything was brown and just ugly, desolate. You probably can't tell, but there I'm standing there like, now what do I do? It's unbelievable. Half acre. In California, all the lots were 50 feet by 100 feet. And the house took up 40 feet by 60. So you had 10 feet on either side, a little backyard, a little front yard. 1 acre, or half acre. I was like, now what? So I went to Master Gardeners and eventually Master Naturalists, and they said, get rid of the St. Augustine. Well, first of all, they said, water it, it'll turn green. So you water it, and with sprinkler system, it all runs down here and down the hill to the neighbor gets all of it, down the street. But he did eventually turn green. So then you have to mow it. And coming from California, we had electric mowers with cords before battery mowers. So that was not a job to do. It was, I didn't want to spend my retirement watering lawns. So Master Gardeners, Master Naturalists said, well, put in natives. They don't need that much water. But there was a problem. When I took off the top 2 inches of soil, there was solid rock underneath, solid rock. I go, no wonder St. Augustine's not doing well. No wonder it's gold and brown. So you had to raise beds, and you'll see later some slides, but these are raised up with the rock that was actually there, chip it out and raise it up and put in natives. The lot next door had the way that the Crown Ridge used to look, oak trees, cedar trees, all kinds of nice natural underbrush. And here I am with this lawn of St. Augustine, which the whole neighborhood had to have. The Homeowners Association says St. Augustine lawn. So I had to kind of hide the fact that I was taking the lawn out, and I put in some things to sort of hide it. Here's Mexican buckeye. Of all things, there's a loquat, which I realize now is too big to put in the very front of the front yard. But I put in Thryallis back here in the back as other plants that would help sort of soften the look of the house as you drive by. I did have one oak tree, tiny one over here that's now a good size. So, lantana, which a lot of these in the front are lantana, bamboo muley, not bamboo muley, it's a grass, and wildflowers. Okay, next one. This is spring 2014, the same area. Of course, you can barely see the house, but here's all the rock and the raised bed, and this is a coral bean. That's not really a native, but there's a fireman's cap, it's also called. Cherokee bean is the native. It's a hot pink, but I put in the coral bean before I realized there's a difference between coral bean and Cherokee bean. This will do well as well up to Austin before it'll freeze. It does freeze to the ground and come back if it's not protected. Mexican buckeye up here. Rosemary, which I had for 20 years until Armageddon thing that hit, a few years ago, and then the rosemaries are gone, which I realize now they're not native. So, but larkspur. There's the yellow Thryallis back there. Okay, next one. Again, this is after a good rain. It's the one I had already in the beginning, and you get a little bit more color. There's an Esperanza back here. I think it's apricot colored, yellow Thryallis. But the lot next door has all the native trees that are really nice. They left those, luckily. Okay. So the Native Plant Society said they had a $600 grant for someone putting in natives, and I'm at the San Antonio Genealogical and Historical Society off of Blanco, just off of 410. And they have this huge area behind a bus stop that the city had mowed down and then put in all Bermuda grass in sod and didn't water it for a year. So it was all dying and dead, so it was very easy to remove. So I got the $600 grant, but they had to put only natives. They looked at the list that you used, and if it wasn't a native, they said, sorry, you can't use that. So later I'm going to show you some slides of things that are sort of adaptive. They're not really native, but they're close enough that I use them for most things, but I couldn't use them here. Okay? Here it is after I planted April 2024. Just planted little small, like 4-inch pots of frog fruit all over all the individual plants in just a minute. 3 4-inch pots have now spread to be 12 square feet of frog fruit. How many know frog fruit as a ground cover? I'll show you some pictures later. It's a terrific ground cover, has flowers, it attracts pollinators. It takes up a lot of space. I'll go over all the other individual plants later on individually. We had a huge row, about 300 feet of sinizas, Texas sage, and they were all 15 feet tall, and we cut them down to 10 and 8, and now we're trying to get them down to like 6 feet for a backdrop, but they were just too much too big, okay? Here it is in September, and what a summer to put it in. There was no rain, of course, during April, May, June, July, August, and so I had to water. I said natives, you don't have to water. I had to water almost every other day the new plants to make sure they made it, and sometimes, you know, that wasn't even enough. But these plants will all be later on individual slides. Here's Greg's Blue Mist. That's the best butterfly plant you can put in, except for its cousin, White Mist, which is bone set. That's even better, and it's even bigger, but you don't see it much in nurseries, unfortunately. Yeah, brown-eyed Susan or black-eyed Susan. A lot of milkweeds are in here, and I'll show you the individual plants later that show up better. But Native Plant Society, the president lives just a few blocks down and drives by and says, it looks good, it looks good. Yeah, that's because I had to keep watering it. Okay, next one. Using natives for color. Now again, I'm going to get to some pond plants later, but these are things that go around the pond that do very well. Purple coneflower. And it comes back year after year. It's 1 or 2 feet tall. I put the Latin names in there on your handouts. This is where your handouts begin. Because when you go to the nursery, you say, I want a salvia. Well, there's 150 salvias. Which one do you want? So there's the Latin name for each of them. Russian sage, obviously not native, but I had one at home, so I put it in. I guess they didn't realize, or they haven't said anything. Autumn fire sedum. Where's the sedum? Over here, I guess. It's 18 to 2 feet tall. Mexican oregano, again, things that have the name Mexican probably aren't really native, but they're really well adapted, obviously. Mexican oregano, I put some in along my driveway and don't water it at all, and it thrives at this height for year after year. I've had it 25 years there. Hummingbird mint. I think it's this one here, I think. And pink muley grass. Pink muley grass back here. Okay, all right. Next one. Oh, pollinator plants. Maximilian sunflower. It's obviously Mexican rather than here, but again, it's really well adapted. I put in maybe 3 plants, and now I've got 20 plants. It makes a nice mott, and they're probably 10, 12 feet tall. They did melt down in the Armageddon, but they're coming back, and I just have fewer of them now. They're maybe now 3 to 6 feet, but they can get much bigger. Blazing Star, Liatris. How many are familiar with that one? It's a great native. When I put it in, they said, be careful, it's invasive. I put in one, I still have one, so it hasn't invaded my space. But I do see it on the road by Friedrich Park, and it's the whole roadside of them, so I guess they do spread, but mine hasn't.
The Maximilian sunflower, is that the one that like you can see driving down the road, there'll just be like pockets of it?
No, that's probably...
An invasive one?
What? No.
Is it an invasive one?
Oh, well, this could be invasive, but no, the one that you're seeing is, oh, I should know that one. It may come to me as I'm speaking,
Okay.
but there's another one that's a sunflower that you see all over. This one has very small flowers, actually not much bigger than $1, and the one you're seeing on the road is probably a bigger sunflower, bigger flower.
The ones you see on the road, they don't grow that tall.
No, they're very short. Yeah. Golden fleece, goldenrod. People are afraid of goldenrod. They think because it blooms in the fall the same time as ragweed. And ragweed is a very invasive thing. If you have allergies, that's terrible. But goldenrod is not. It does bloom in August, September, and it's a great brightener for the garden because of the golden. Hummingbird mint. Greg's Blue Mist, Again, you won't find a picture without a butterfly on it. They're there all the time. Fall aster, and it does bloom in the fall. And by the way, the fall aster, it's best to cut it not much after July, or you won't have any blooms in the fall. But you do want to cut it back in early summer and get blooms in the fall. This year it was really late. It didn't bloom till, we had a long, hot summer. It bloomed much later. Greg's blue mist we talked about. Again, a butterfly magnet. And again, I don't think I have a picture of it, but there's a white mist that gets bigger than Greg's blue mist.
It's a shrub.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 feet tall. Mine still has blooms on it last month until the freeze, and then of course the blooms aren't there, but the butterflies and all still nest around it. So besides Greg's blue mist, you might put white mist.
Seeds of that?
What's
You said
that?
It's harder to find the white.
Yeah, it's harder to find in nurseries, yeah, because nobody asks for it. But bone set, white mist. I'm going to show you a couple of native nurseries that will probably have it at the end of the slide, okay?
We got ours at the Botanical garden sale that they have twice a year.
Right.
How having one in April?
Yes.
Yeah.
How is it propagated? Is it seed or do you like
Which, the bone set?
the white
It must be by seed because I planted 1 or 2 and I've got a half an acre of them. I mean, they're everywhere, which some people say that's invasive. Well, I like it because it's a nice underground or understory plant. So, but yeah, if you have a very manicured garden, some of these natives will get, they'll like it and take off, okay? Skull cap, most of you know the pink skull cap. There's a native dark violet skull cap as well. Frog fruit, here's the one that I said, 3 4-inch pots covered 12 square feet. And it stays very low to the ground. What does it say there? It's about 6 inches tall and it spreads. And I think it spread within a month's time. It was probably enough. And then this is why it's frog fruit, because of the little flowers, tiny flowers everywhere, look like little frog eggs. Blackfoot daisy, the only problem with this one is you can kill it by overwatering it. And this summer when I was watering everything, I kept saying, why are my Blackfoot daisies not doing very well? I was watering too much, and so I had to avoid water, and now they're thriving. They will reseed. Unfortunately, at my house, the seeds go down into my neighbor's yard, and they don't come back much at mine. But
Smitty, on the frog food, will the deer eat that?
No, I don't think they do.
I don't know. But
That's my problem. I have like 15 deer.
a lot of the natives, they don't mess with, but this one I'm not sure of.
I don't think they eat frog fruit.
That's no problem.
You need a redneck as a neighbor.
People,
We have some.
we have some, but
That'll
people
be- do
always,
that.
oh, these deer. And I said, did you know when they're mating, they charge you the mail?
Chocolate flower, it's native, but I've never had much success with it. It's called that because of the fragrance. It doesn't taste like chocolate. Dwarf petunia, be sure if you use this that you use the dwarf petunia. Don't get Ruellia. It's the Mexican Ruellia. It gets about 3 or 4 feet tall and spreads everywhere.
It's everywhere around my pond, and it's just.
It does give you color around the pond.
So I never planted any of those, and they started coming up around the edge of my pond.
Yep.
Curious to see the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
get
birds
I
come
mean,
and drink and then they poop and then now
I
you
have
need
a
it.
lot of plants that they sell at the nursery that I never bought.
You have the space, it's okay, but I mean, if somebody has a rather small yard, it can take over.
Mow it.
No, she had-
You can mow it. Fun fact, not just the birds, those seed pods explode.
Yes. Oh,
Out
yes.
there like sunset.
And when it rains.
Yeah, you can hear pop, 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 pop. You're like,
Well, I made the mistake of putting them in a glass jar one time, and I was on my kitchen table, and I didn't realize they did that, and so I'm sitting at the table reading, and they just start exploding, and I'm like,
I bought pasture bait, which is supposed to be poisonous.
yeah.
And
right.
before I didn't know, but anyway, I'm still it's been like 7 years that I bought it, and from the explosion, I still have plants coming up.
oh yeah.
From it.
Hank, what's Hank's last name? It was here at the very beginning. Hank,
Messina?
who?
Messina? We had 2 Hanks.
No.
Wayland?
Hank Whalen, doctor of botany, used to be a member here, and he said that
Whalen.
he was imprisoned as a child during World War II, and they ate what castor beans, and they ate, and there was no problem. But I wouldn't suggest trying it. But evidently, it's kind of like saying things are. You want to keep the dog away from it, and your kids away from it.
Yeah, but I never had that problem, but I heard that you can eat them while it's soft, not when they get
Well,
once
if
a
they
bit.
dry
Maybe.
up, it's not
Then it's
toxic.
poison.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
ricin.
they get like cyanide or something from those.
Yeah.
It's ricin.
Ricin, there we go. Really watching.
Yeah, they're safe when they're soft, but if they're hard, and it's not that, I don't think you'll die, I think you just have to eat a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah. and you got-
Horse herb, they're selling it by the flat up in Austin, and yet here everybody's pulling it out like crazy. It grows great in shade.
What is that one?
Horse herb or straggler daisy. It will freeze at first frost, but it comes back like a vengeance. Pennyroyal, I think it's this one here, I think. Don't overwater. Okay, next one. Ground covers, blue bonnets, sow the seeds early fall, or you can go out and get 4-inch pots of it now and put it in. Monarda or bee balm. This is the native one, and this one here is the one that really does attract the butterflies. But this is one you can buy in the nursery as well. Everyone likes it because it's bright red, but it's not the native one. So I had trouble at nurseries. They wanted to sell me this. I said, no, I can't put it in the garden. What's that?
Is that a firebush? That's not the firebush.
No, they're low growing. I would put them in at the same time you put in the bluebonnets, the seeds, and then when the bluebonnets are going to seed and they look pretty awful, this Monarda comes up and sort of covers them. It's about 8 inches taller than the bluebonnets. It covers.
People in the post hate that blue bug because it mixes in with the grasses that they feed the cows and stuff. And I only
It's
know,
toxic.
yeah, because I have, in the spring, we have property at the coast, and I have a bunch of wildflowers in the spring, all different kinds.
But the farmers don't like it. Oh. Standing cypress. This one is just a little rosette the first year you plant it, and then it gets to be 4 to 5 feet spikes, 4 to 6 foot spikes. Obviously, hummingbirds like that one. Okay. Herbs. Again, these are not native, but good for butterfly gardens. Fennel. And after you have cooked, usually you don't cook this part anyway, you just cook the stems, and you can put that in the ground, it will grow. Yellow blooms, feathery leaves, larval food for the swallowtail butterfly. Dill, it's the same as above. And rosemary, and the hardiest one is the upright. And I'm not real fond of the upright. To me, it doesn't look very natural. But the other one is not very, the trailing one isn't very durable during our freezes. And rue. This one too is a gray-green leaf, and it's good food for swallowtail, and has a nice yellow flower. They say though, some people are allergic to it, and if you touch against it, it can cause the problem. Okay. Perennials that never fail. Texas native shrubs. Gold Star Esperanza. How many have Gold Star Esperanza? At one point, they only discovered it about 30 years ago here in San Antonio, and I guess it was Greg from the botanical garden that then brought it in, said everybody should plant it, and sure enough, everybody did. But it's an outstanding plant. 4 to 7 feet tall. If we don't have a hard winter, it can get 10 to 12 feet tall. It will freeze to the ground. It always comes back. They have an apricot colored one as well.
There's another kind of Esperanza that doesn't flower the way this Gold Star does.
Right, that's why they say you have to pick this one, the Gold Star.
This one's wonderful. The other one, you get a long green stem, and then maybe someday you get a little flower.
Yeah. That's why I kind of be careful what you're buying, yes.
You gotta watch.
Flame acanthus, I put in 1 or 2 in my backyard, and I have a half acre of flame acanthus. It just spreads like crazy. And I have a roommate who says, get rid of it. And I said, no, because the hummingbirds love it, and the butterflies love it. So it's there. American beautyberry, we haven't said much about shade. American Beauty loves shade. It does take a little more water than most of the others. I don't think that's a native. I was going to put asterisk by the ones that were not native, but I couldn't somehow get the asterisk in there once the presentation was set up. Bird of paradise. How many know this bird of paradise? The yellow one is the native one, and that's the one that we really should be planting more of. It's hard to find in nurseries because they all have the Mexican bird of paradise because they know that will sell well. And so that's the one they have 4 to 6 feet. It's not native, but I would certainly recommend it. It's a lot of good color.
I'm trying to grow pink bird of paradise, and it's
Oh,
hard.
oh yeah. And there's an orange one too that's,
Started from seed?
No, that is a plant, it doesn't wanna.
evergreen sumac. People seem to be afraid of sumac, and I think because there's a poisonous sumac on the eastern coast, there's a poisonous sumac in California and the west coast. We don't have poisonous sumac growing here. We have evergreen sumac, we have flame leaf sumac, and it's, again, a good color, good shrub, 4 to 7 feet tall. I have some that are 10, 12 feet tall that hide the brown fence that I don't like around my property.
They grow native on our property.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them next door on the lot that they hadn't built on, okay? Salvia, again, you want to know which one you're asking for. There's hundreds of them. Mealy blue sage is probably the most popular, 3 to 5 feet. I don't think that's native. Well, yeah, that one is native, okay. Autumn sage, Mexican bush sage is the one that's not native. And they didn't want me to plant it at the garden on Blanco. They said, well, it's not native. I said, yeah, but it's adapted very well. But no, you got to put you can only buy with the $600 the ones that are native. Mexican red sage. Oh, autumn sage, the Salvia gregae, probably the most often planted plant here in San Antonio. They pushed it 30 years ago. And how many have autumn sage? Salvia gregae. The thing is that it blooms almost all year round. And what you need to do is in January, when it's still blooming, you got to cut it back by a third. And then every time it blooms, cut it back by a third again. The more you cut it, the more it blooms. People don't like to do that, but then they get woody and leggy and they're not as attractive. Okay? Spring or fall bloomers. Gulf penstemon. Oh yeah, it likes a little bit more water than some of the other plants. Copper Canyon daisy. If you have this one, how many of you had Copper Canyon daisy? It's from Mexico. And if the dog runs through it and comes back in the house, you know it. It has a very strong fragrance. Anything with the name tagetes, like marigolds, have this strong fragrance, which some people like, but I think it's pretty horrible, especially when it's on the dog and it lasts forever. But a fall bloomer, it does very well. Damianita blooms up through September for me this year. Of course, I planted it late in June, and it bloomed in through September. And it stays very low, 1 to 2 feet, okay? Those that attract monarchs, this is what they wanted us to put a third of our money, our $600, into these. And they're hard to find in nurseries. And they're pricey because of that. But butterfly milkweed, 18 inches to 3 feet. Swamp milkweed, I found swamp milkweed probably the easiest to find and probably did the best once I put it in. Or white milkweed or Texas milkweed. That one stays about 18 inches tall. It says 40 inches, mine didn't get that tall. And it bloomed up through August, September, and then it's sort of melted down. I hope it comes back. I think it will. Tropical milkweed, this is the one they say be careful of because it could be that it has some kind of a virus that when the butterflies or the larvae eat it, it's deadly to them. But they say if you cut it back in the fall or if it freezes to the ground in the fall, there's no problem with it. How many have tropical milkweed perhaps? That's the one that's most easily found.
I heard tropical milkweed too, that you should not plant it in your ground because of that, but also because it doesn't die back like the other ones. And it keeps blooming and it doesn't encourage the
monarchs to migrate. Yeah.
I want to also add swamp milkweed that you can get at Rainbow Gardens. I experimented with it the last 2 years in my bog, and it'll fully grow in the water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, very good.
I had a bunch of queen butterflies use it and hatch out of it last spring. So
Very good. Okay. Native shrubs, 6 to 20 feet tall. Texas lilac. Those who know lilacs from anywhere else in the world besides Texas, it does not smell like lilacs. It smells pretty awful. But it works like a hibiscus. You can cut it to the ground, it'll come back. But it gets to be 25 feet tall. It does attract butterflies. Agarita, again, a lot of people don't like it because if you're mowing a lawn next to it, you get all scratched up. Well, you shouldn't be mowing a lawn in the first place. But it's great because it's one of the first things to bloom in the spring, and it has nice berries that the birds like. It is very treacherous to work around it, but stay away from it. I guess the way that they pick the berries for jam is put a sheet or something plastic and then shake the bush and then it all falls down. How many have eaten the aggravated jelly or aggravated jam? It's good. Fragrant sumac, again, sumac I have, this is an outstanding plant. It does like a little more water than the others, but it is native and it does attract butterflies.
Has a
Okay.
nice smell.
Yes, very fragrant, yes. Okay. Coral honeysuckle, it's more of a shrub than it is a vine. Great for hummingbirds. You may lose it in a hard freeze. I've lost it twice, so I finally quit planting. Okay. Perennials, black-eyed Susan, that's the one that was the bright yellow in front of the Native Plant Society garden. Cutleaf daisy, this is a short one, just 1 feet tall. I have those growing along the curb, and I didn't plant them, but somehow they came up, and they come up every year, year after year. Golden eye daisy, now this is the one we really should promote more because it's almost a perfect mound of 3 to 5 feet, and it was blooming up until maybe the freeze a month ago. It bloomed, and it blooms all summer and fall. It's a larval food for patch butterflies, border patch, and for the Cassius blue butterfly. But again, it's like Mexican salvia, Mexican anyway, it's perfectly round when if you don't have to cut it back at all. Okay. Heartleaf hibiscus, I've not had much luck with. We used to grow it down at Schultz House downtown when it was much milder climate. Lindheimer senna is a native one. If it comes up, the birds usually plant it, let it go. It's a beautiful gray-green, has yellow flowers, has a seed pod that's bright yellow, so it's a very attractive plant in the garden. Pineapple
Smitty,
yes.
you know, we have that big kind of a field out in our front yard. And so I just mow whenever the native, whatever it is out there gets real tall, which is not very often these days. But this one comes up, this senna comes up. So I mow around
it.
senna. So I have these patches
Yeah.
of sennas out there. And he's like, you have to cut those down. No. Well, it's
I'm
getting quite a few of them
The
now.
one you're gonna cover next, Mexican mint marigold and pineapple sage,
Mhm.
not only smell amazing, but the Mexican mint marigold is one that you can make into teas and other stuff.
Again, it has the fragrance of the tagetes, which is sort of a strange fragrance. How does it taste? You don't.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
It has like almost like a vanilla chamomile kind of scent to it. I like it.
All right, very good. Thank you. And pineapple sage. Okay, next one.
Pineapple sage smell like pineapple?
Yes. Yes. It's not very hardy. It may lose it in a freeze. Those with shade again, you might even have birds that have planted these. Pigeonberry. It's just short, 1 foot to 18 inches. Pokeweed families, so that might be slightly poisonous, toxic to humans, but the birds like it, and I have dogs that it doesn't bother. Dogs don't eat it. Dogs eat hackberry. Turk's cap, 3 to 5 feet tall, in the shade. It loves the shade, but mine have moved over to the sun and seem to be doing fine there as well. Attracts ruby-throated hummingbirds.
I didn't have success with Turk's cap. I did when we lived inside 1604, but now that we're further north, it died and that was the end of it.
Did you have it in the shade? Nothing like that.
It's kind of part shade.
We have, well, in the pot, the roots are going to get hit harder than if they're in the ground. We have it at Friedrich Park, and it looks pretty bad right now, which is outside 1604, but it'll come back. It comes back every year. Yeah, in the pot makes it a little more difficult. Golden columbines. The columbines only bloom briefly in the spring, so you're not going to get much color, but it's a good little plant to have. And it's a Texas superstar, so, okay. Vines. Oh, you want to go back one?
Okay, thank you.
There are a lot of vines I can show you, and many of them are very invasive, but one I really like is the Alamo vine. I have a trellis up over the pond, and it provides some shade, but it does get it's invasive. It's also grown up onto my deck, but Alamo vine, it says 15 to 20 feet. I've seen it grow 30 foot. Nice little white flower with a red center, blooms May through October, has an interesting seed pod. If you've ever seen the Hawaiian wood roses, it has a little seed pod like that. I should have brought some of that, lots of those. But my roommate says, no, they're too invasive. Crossvine or tangerine beauty, it only blooms for a short time in the spring. So if you're looking for color, it's going to get color for a month. It is spectacular on a trellis for 1 month, and then after that, that's it for the color. Cypress vine, people say be careful of it. It's so invasive, but it's so tiny that it's easy to just pull right out. And it always reseeds itself, small but aggressive and reseeds. Okay, almost getting to the ponds. Passion vine. Passion vine is probably the most invasive plant you can put in. And
Trumpet vine,
what's that?
trumpet vine.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a host plant for the Gulf fritillary and the zebra longwing butterfly. There were a lot of these around the last couple of years. I don't know why they're all of a sudden we're seeing more of them, but that's kind of an interesting butterfly. And they do like the passion vine. The native passion vine, to me, is not nearly as bad. It's pretty invasive. You look it up over every plant you've planted nearby, but it's the lighter lavender. And of course, it has its name because of the referrals to Christ. It has the red berries. And it was blooming. It was red berries up until a month ago, and the last freeze kind of got it.
Okay, I got a question on that. I always hear that it says you can eat the berries, but when you open it up, it's just like seeds.
Poof. Yeah, there's nothing to it.
So what do you eat?
I don't.
It's probably just not, there are versions of passion fruit that are better to eat.
I used to grow a red one.
Yeah, I think this one used to have like a small cucumber berry, but I don't think this one. The fruit would not be very edible, but it says it is. But the blooms are edible. When you have these, don't be killing them. I don't think most of you do, but you don't want to spray around your pond. You don't want to spray these plants because this becomes a new butterfly. So this is the Gulf fritillary. It's probably the most common butterfly around, waiting for the monarchs to show up. And of course, it imitates the monarchs, so birds won't eat it. Okay? Virginia creeper. People are afraid of it, and they shouldn't be. It has 5 leaves, not 3. It looks like poison ivy. And here it is when it turns bright red in the fall. And it will not destroy the building it's crawling on or the oak tree it's crawling up into. It's a lightweight vine. It's also a good host for the sphinx moth. Lindheimer, morning glory, heavenly blue morning glory. Again, it says 4 to 6 feet, and I've seen it grow, 15, 18 feet. Seeds are poisonous, but my dog doesn't eat flower seeds. Okay. Native plant butterfly landscape nurseries. Pollinatives is a new nursery that opened last year.
I've been there, it's great.
It's a tiny little place out in Converse. Yeah, very small, but he has only native plants, and they're pretty good as far as prices. The milkweed are a little pricey, but that's because they're hard to get. The second native nursery is, let's see. Oh, he was closed from December 15th until, I think he just opened January 27th. So I think he's open now, Pollinatives. Okay, next one.
If you're coming to Pollinatives, then you might as well come to my house and get some water lilies. It's like 5 minutes away.
Good prices?
I've actually, the crazy thing is I've never been in there. I normally go by it when it's
I mean, are your water lilies?
good prices, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I wholesale too.
Nectar Bar has moved to 7600 Eckert. They have milkweed and other butterfly
I
plants.
don't like Nectar Bar. Everything I bought there last year it looked really pretty, and I didn't check, and it died, and I paid $25
Yeah.
for this pot of butterfly weed, and it didn't have no roots. It had no roots.
So somebody
Well,
trimmed it and stuck it in the pot?
I was
The milkweed that I bought that does not do well is the, not ram's head, antelope horn.
Yeah, that's
They're
what I was
very
thinking,
hard.
brown.
They're very hard. And I brought some from the Nectar Bar. They didn't make it. But I bought them at a lot of other nurseries. They just don't make it. They're very hard to transplant. I tried to grow them from seed. And by the time you get into a 4-inch pot, and then you try to get into a gallon container.
Those ones are really picky and like only grow where they want to grow out in the wild. than
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
The milkweed seeds like to be in water in your refrigerator for like 30 days, 90 days. It like helps them trigger, but, and I've tried like 3 or 4 different ways I can get them.
No, that's a hard one to grow.
Smitty, can we see the other one so I can get pictures of the address?
And I couldn't find it in Converse. It's a very tiny little town, but I had to go up and ask. And everybody knows it's just around the corner.
Yeah, so if you're on FM 78, turn onto like the road that is downtown Converse where the city hall and everything is. As you're heading towards the railroad track, the road splits on the right, and it's literally like that. It's basically like a 1-car garage. Like that's how big that building is. So like I said, you'll drive by it. Look, it's got a fence around it. They've got like a little John boat with some water plants in there. But it's like right in the split of the road. Like there's a gymnastics place on your right if you're heading toward the railroad track. And then as that road splits, it's like in the middle, like right there. You're like, oh, there it is. So.
Okay.
I was also gonna add that, learning about all this stuff is great, because I'm gonna incorporate, an informational thing and a link on, our new website for, certifying your yard as wildlife habitat, and just information about like the benefits of incorporating native plants around your pond, so.
Nectar bar. Sorry you had some bad experience with it. Today they're having a Native Plant Society of Texas is having a sale at Nectar Bar, which is over on the west side. Oh wait, back one maybe. I think, do I have one? Yeah, Nectar Bar. Again, they're having I'm not sure what they have with all these freezes. They must have a place to keep them inside during the freeze. So we're going to have another freeze this Wednesday or Thursday, and another freeze next Wednesday or Thursday. So whatever you buy, keep inside for a couple weeks at least, maybe in a month.
Now, before you move on to the pond stuff, I didn't see my favorites, which are blue flamenco
Oh yeah, I have.
and my firebush.
Yeah, I have both those. Blue plumbago spread everywhere, and that's fine with me. You do have to cut it down when it gets pretty ugly and 3 or 4 feet tall and all everywhere. But you know, it's a good. But it's from Africa, so I didn't include it with natives or near natives. But yes, I have that. And firebush is a good one. There's fire spike for those who have the shade. There's fire bush for those who have a lot of sun. And they were the first to freeze, but they're also the first. Well, sometimes the last to come back, but they come back fully. Good. Other natives that I missed probably that are good?
Mexican poinsettia?
Oh, I call it a weed and I pull it, but it's a pretty little plant. It turns like a poinsettia. It turns orangey red, but I get them in pots and they just grow everywhere. But yeah, it's color. There's color by your pond. It takes no care. Water natives, red stem thalia. I don't think it's a native. I don't know why it's up there, but that's my favorite plant because it gets big. It lasts until the hard freeze, and you cut it down, it comes back. When I show you pictures of my pond, all you see are thalias because they covered everything.
I have one of those I got from the pond at Fish and Swap 4 or 5 years ago, and it still comes back, even after the freeze.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's still
yeah.
Yeah, it's called, Florida, it's, like you said, I don't know if it's native here, but that Gulf Coast
Maybe.
band, like all the way to, it's everywhere in Florida.
No.
That's kind of where it's got the name alligator plant, because if we see that, probably an alligator.
Pickerel weed is good 2 to 3 feet. It's vigorous, but it's not too invasive. It has a nice color there. Okay. What?
You can eat it.
You can eat it? I didn't know that.
The little seed pods are kind of nutty. So like after the flowers, there's like little seed pods on there.
That's interesting. But how do you roast them up?
Oh, I just grab them off the.
Roast
Certain
them up.
things that I can eat in my yard, just grab a handful of it while you're out there.
Okay. Texas State water lily. I think somebody mentioned earlier. I think you mentioned earlier. The Dawn.
Texas Dawn.
Texas Dawn. Is it yellow or the pink?
The yellow.
Yellow. And this is what, Colorado? The pink one, I think.
Probably, there's so many.
There are 2 that just do very well here anyway.
That's the problem with water lilies now is there's everyone all over the world is making new ones. I have access to 70 hardy and 60 tropical. when I first got into it, like in 2000, the list of tropicals was like 3 or 4 blues, reds, so.
I'll say that there's a native water lily, the spatterdock or cow lily, that I've been able to propagate in my pond, and it's not very pretty for flowers, but it is good for like surface cover, and the fish like it, and they can eat it. It's edible to us too. It's something that used to be used.
You'll see I didn't do much in the way of water lily plants. I don't know if there's another one, maybe.
There is a, talk about like the coastal bend, there's a, it's called Elegans hooker that's, it shows up white when people take pictures of it, but it actually is almost a purple, very light. It changes color. Every once in a while, right now it's been so dry I can't get it. But that one, when it grows, the flowers smell like vanilla. It's an amazing plant, but it's not on many lists of native plants because it's literally just coastal bend. But it's really pretty tropical.
Okay. This is, Steve Rainier from Hill Country Water Garden Gems. That was Hill Country Water Gardens. That's not Water Garden Gems, no.
No.
Okay.
You live in Cedar Park.
In Cedar Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
They also have a wine thing. Have you ever gone to
Really?
that?
You just wanna go ahead.
If you want drinks, let me know when you come to
Yeah, I don't recognize the plants here. I'm just saying that I'd put it in so I'd have something on ponds, but any plants there you recognize that you should promote? I should promote?
Not necessarily, it looks like purple rush, like in the middle, up there in the waterfall.
Okay, next one. This is Rocky Leonides. Tom Tibby and Rocky Leonides come here. And this is their pink lotus and their pond. In the background, Queen's Tears. Queen's Tears is quite hardy. You can leave that out during a freeze and it'll be fine. It's blooming. Well, it's blooming now because I brought it inside, but it's blooming for me right now. Okay. This is again their pond with Louisiana iris and Texas star hibiscus.
Big bog in the back.
Yes, they have a spectacular pond. How many have seen their pond out in Lavernia? When you get a chance and they have an open house, go to that.
Where's that?
In Lavernia, Rocky Leonides and Tom Tibby. Okay?
It's got a nice bog in the back side.
Yeah. Here's their pond with a pink lotus and Texas red hibiscus back in the background for color. And of course their fish are huge and colorful, and they've got some really big ones and they've had them a long time. And next one. This is the hardy white water lily, and Gloxinia is not hardy. You wouldn't leave that out. They have a big greenhouse, so they put a lot of the things in the greenhouse during the winter. It's not hardy. Okay. Here's Rocky's Pond in February. I'm sure last week it looked like this. But his fish have been located from Chicago down here, so they seem to have no problem at all with it. I guess, how many of you have fish out there underneath ice and no problem? Yeah.
Well, we have like 20.
Okay. My pond, you can't even see it, for the red stem salvia, flame acanthus, alamo vine, a passion vine. So the pond is down below all that.
Do you have any fish in it, or is it
No.
just really?
I used to have fish, and then have big white birds sit up on the power lines, and they come down no matter what. I send the dog out to scare them when I notice it, but if they eat everything. Okay. I get fish at every fish swap.
I noticed in here that you didn't have anything on the cannas, the ones that you see everywhere. I have those growing in my pond.
In bog.
In the bog, yeah, and they come back every year, and they're really gorgeous and they're really good for holding together. Like if you just put them in pea gravel, they'll grow. And then chocolate mint, although that's not like a native, but that one is really happy in bogs. Yes, and for tea.
The next one, I think that's the next one's the last one. Oh, red stem salvia. Again, trellises give some shade over parts of the pond, and then vines over it. And Greg's blue mistflower, I don't even see that, but it must be in there somewhere. Native passion vine, and I have a lot of crepe myrtles. I didn't know that they weren't native because I just liked them, and I bought 50 of them one year because they were like couple dollars a piece when they were selling out in October. And somebody said, you got them too close together. Well, no, it's good shade. We don't have any, we need shade. So I got 50 crepe myrtles. And,
What colors?
but I've lost a few, but not many, so okay. Oh, the city arborist says that they want to get crepe myrtle off the list of the CPS tree list and put on cedars. He says the cedar, as long as they're a female cedar, that's a good tree to plant. And my next door neighbor has them all over. I have one left.
I don't know if you guys done, the city sponsors free trees you can go get, but you have to go really early and get.
Yeah, get in line. Yeah.
Everybody will.
I have a couple of free tickets here. I don't know how you get the mailer, but there's a couple of free tickets for the Home and Garden Show, which I'll give to whoever. But I also want to mention some flower shows coming up. In the end of April, who is that? Oh, oh, no wonder I got upside down. Water Garden Club, I mean the Women's Club, WC, the Women's Club, April 25th and 26th, is in an old house on 1717 San Pedro. And they have a flower show that's free at the end of Fiesta. And they have their ladies that donate things. And they also have it open to anybody who wants to donate plants for a show, for a prize. April 25th, 26th. It's on a Friday, Saturday. And you can bring the plants in between 8 and 10 if we have cuttings of roses or anything. Last year we had 4 roses. And I'm thinking, all these ladies and no roses. It was not a good year for them because of the weather. But if any of you have things blooming, April, the end of April, or I'll put a reminder somehow on the website or something. But bring them in for, one, it's just a flower show, and then they have arrangements as well.
What address was that?
It's 1717 San Pedro. It's right by the San Pedro College and the tennis courts. Oh, and then all the garden clubs in San Antonio on the 28th and 29th of that month, which is the Monday and Tuesday of that, the last Monday and Tuesday of April, are having their flower show. And again, it's mostly just a show. I don't think you can buy plants there. The May 31st is the biggest flower show event in Bexar County, the Festival of Flowers at the Shrine Auditorium. And so be sure if you get a chance to go see that. It's an excellent show. I think it costs $8 to get in, but the parking's free, and it's an all-day event on the last Friday, or the last Saturday of May. Okay, and I'll just leave this up here for anybody.
Give it to him, he can put down the dates.
Yep.
Oh.
And that way we can put it on the website.
Also,
you-
remember our membership, I had gotten Rainbow to, because they hadn't asked for discount, but I asked, so Rainbow Garden will give you 10% membership to show your car, if you buy stuff. Unless if there's a special sale or something, but 10% discount on your purchase at Rainbow's, at either one,
Oh, Rainbow Gardens on Bandera is especially good in the summer. On Saturdays, the butterfly lady she grows butterfly attracting plants, and she's there on Saturdays between 10 and 2 on Rainbow Gardens on Bandera in the summer. I'm not sure when she starts, but that's where I got most of my milkweeds.
Smitty, one plant, and I don't know if it's native or not, but we have it. It's Pride of Paradise, Pride of Barbados, and it does real well, and I don't have to water it all, and it attracts butterflies and hummingbirds.
I'm not picturing it. Pride of Barbados.
Both fertilities love my Pride of Barbados.
Yeah, Pride of Barbados is like the, you have the Mexican version up there on the screen.
Yeah.
Pride of
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay, I had it up there, but it has a different name, yeah.
Oh, also, for any of you
Thank
who
you.
are interested in maybe raising quail, because you're concerned about egg prices, I'm starting to hatch them in sequence. I've got Celadon and regular Cortnix quail, so they mature at 6 weeks.